up? Welcome back. It is Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and talk about some upcoming releases that will be coming out for McFarland's DC Multiverse. Now, I have compiled this list from a couple of lists, so there is going to be a lot of stuff. I'll try and get through it as quickly as I can. But we do have some interesting stuff coming up in the next couple of months from DC Multiverse. Now, per usual, I don't usually talk about stuff that I don't collect. So we're talking about superpowers, which is still going strong, although I don't collect it. They keep releasing wave after wave, and they do have a pretty strong following out there in the toy community. I also don't really talk about the 6-inch animated stuff, which as well it does sell. I don't, hear as big a noise about it, but it is consistent. They have released a lot of vehicles, a lot of characters. I think in the next coming months you're going to see Etragon, which will be pretty interesting. But once again, it's just a scale that I don't collect and a section of McFarland that I don't collect. Me being mainly a DC Multiverse 7-inch collector. Now, of course, we do got to talk about the statues as well. I'm not a big statue guy. I do really want that new Grim Knight statue that is out right now. I'll be hunting that down pretty soon. But we must also mention the Marvel statue releases from McFarlane. I think they did pretty well. I've seen a lot of them online with people using them in various ways for display and matching up with their Marvel Legends, which I thought was pretty interesting. But he does have another round of those statues coming out. Some of the standouts for me, of course, would be Carnage and the Fantastic Fours, the Thing. But aside from that, not much more. I think he is releasing a DC King Shark statue, which may be interesting depending on the size and the design of it. I may be looking into getting that. Great white sharks, of course, being my spirit animal. Now, I also do want to mention McFarlane is about to release that Batman and King Kong 2-pack. We did see images from it and we know what we're getting. We'll see how it hits when it hits the market. But now we have also caught wind that they will be releasing a Superman versus Godzilla. Still no images on that, but it is basically going to be based on the comic material that I was quite surprised to find out that there is, source material for this Monsters versus DC Universe. So cool. Now, getting into what is my bread and butter, which is 7-inch DC Multiverse, I usually start off with the comic figures, move into some outlayers, and then get into the live action. Now, let's go ahead and get it out of the way. There is announced one more Jokerized figure, which will be the Dark Knight Death Metal Batman figure. Now, all jokes aside, I've said this before, not for me. I'm not a big Jokerized figure collector, but there is a certain corner, a niche of collector that does enjoy these Jokerized versions. So I'm not going to talk down to them. They can collect whatever they want. But one point I will make is that all those jelly brained fools out there thinking that we're going to see a Jokerized Wonder Woman, not going to happen. These are strictly maintained in a Batman mythos and Batman characters. So sadly, you won't be getting your Twisted Fantasies, so you can go ahead and go home and cry to mama. Now let's go ahead and get into the juicy stuff. First off, we're going to be getting a figure of Jade from the Green Lantern Corps. Now, really enjoy getting some female figures. They are trickling out, so your female character hunger will be satisfied. And as we've said before, this is a long war, a long marathon. So if you just have some patience, you will be seeing a lot of your wanted female figures. Up next, we are going to get a version of Tempest. Now, this is going to be the Rebirth Teen Titans version. Very similar in costume design to the Page Punchers that we received earlier. But of course, this character wears more of a blue color scheme and is one of the original Aqualads. So, pretty cool. You'll be able to add this one to your Teen Titans display and team up. So, that will be pretty awesome. We'll also be seeing a Connor Hawk version of Green Arrow. So this design is, a lot of people's favorite, but of course, some people will not be satisfied. I, for one, am open to any releases that open up my DC multiverse. The menagerie of characters is really getting very vast, so I'm happy with any alternate versions of characters that we have received. Or we're also going to be looking at an armored Green Lantern Hal Jordan. Now, this one just came out of the blue, but it'd be very interesting to see the final design concept. But once again, we will add another cool Green Lantern design to our already growing Green Lantern lineup. Now, one thing I'm really looking forward to, and that is going to be another Justice Society of America member, and that is going to be Our Man. Now, it's open to a lot of different ways they could take this character, but his design has basically stayed the same throughout the years. You have that yellow and black scheme. So it'll be very interesting to see the final product from McFarland, but very anxious to add one more member to the JSA. Now, another sleeper that I'm actually looking forward to, and that is going to be the Dark Flash, although this version is based on the new kid in town, which has a really sleek and distinctive design for the Flash suit. So I, for one, am really looking forward to add this one to my Speedster collection, which is growing and growing as the time goes by. Tons of Speedsters that we have in our DC Multiverse collection, and this is a rather sick version to add to your collection. Now, getting a little bit more in the classic feels of DC Multiverse, we have received a couple of versions of this character, but we will be receiving a DC Classics version of Bizarro. Now, we did receive the original one a couple years back, and then we received the McGinnis style version with the 2-pack of Bizarro. So it would be rather interesting to see the way they take this character in a more classic Bizarro design. So I'm really stoked for that. Like I said, I do not get angry when we receive multiple designs of characters. It just adds to your options in your displays and your DC Multiverse collection. Now, making a quick little stop in the animated style, we are going to be receiving a 7-inch Superman from the 1940s cartoon Superman design. Now, of course, this is the Fleischer Superman, which a lot of people really enjoy. Although it's up in the air which body they will use, I would suggest using the Earth 2 body, which is a smooth, pretty much universal Superman body, and just slap on a new head with a cloth cape, and this will be awesome. Something that a lot of old school collectors have really been waiting for, a Fleischer Superman from that 1940s cartoon series. Now, another version of Superman we will be receiving, and this kind of brings up what I tell people is to, you got to be very decisive on the customs that you make. I tend to hold off on customs that I have a feeling that McFarland will eventually get to. Although, sometimes it is fun just to do your own version, not knowing what McFarland will come out with. But I tend to stick more to out there concept customs, which are designs that I think McFarland will never touch. But you never know. I have done a couple that McFarland, turned around and released on me. Although I do enjoy my customs, they have their own style. And I really appreciate McFarland giving us his take on figures we would like to see. But this is going to be from the Return of Superman, Eradicator. So aside from maybe getting a different cape, or who knows which direction McFarlane will go with this. Now at this time we do have multiple parts of Superman that we can use. I'm pretty sure he is going to use the original head sculpt from the first Eradicator that we received. I think it was called Shockwave or something like that. But the point is, a lot of customs have been going around of Eradicator, and of course, McFarlane has to go ahead and release his. Now, one thing I will say, McFarlane definitely shying away from any kind of translucent or transparent or clear goggles. So if your version has that, you may want to hold on to your version. Although there will be a chase of this figure that we do not know exactly what it will be. But for all those waiting for a classic styled Eradicator, you will finally get Wish. Now, speaking of obscure, alternate versions, we're going to see something never seen before, first time in plastic, and that is going to be Batman 1,000,000. Although he does have a very futuristic style to his costume, we still have to wait and see the final product. But very interesting about this Batman is that he has a robotic Robin, which I would really like to see McFarlane make. Never seen it, never heard of it, and I would like to definitely hold it in my hand and add it to all of the Robins we've received up until this point from McFarlane. And to keep it going with the different styled figures based on Batman, we will be getting a Cowboy Batman. Now, this one is iconic. I have seen, I think DC Direct did this one before. The only thing I'm not sure on is if he will have a horse or not. I mean, it would be a no brainer to release this one with a horse. But of course, if they release him in a single edition, there are multiple horses you could choose from to add to this Western style Batman. Now, those are the standard single releases that I have on the list, but let's go ahead and get into our next digital wave of figures. Now, although this is kind of controversial with the whole digital thing and the way people react to that digital form of collecting, that is besides the point. I do think the digital waves have really sold well, and some of them have been very highly sought after by collectors. The classic Adam Ray Palmer, a great seller, as well as the classic Silver Age Hal Jordan. Now, that's very interesting because this will be a whole Silver Age wave of DC characters. And up first, we will finally be getting a comic styled Silver Age version of Dr. Fate. Now, once again, we do have to wait and see the final product, but the way McFarlane has been advancing in technology, using cloth capes, using a slight bit more alternate hands and alternate heads, this is definitely one I am looking forward to. You will also have a Silver Age Two-Face, and this is one that a lot of collectors have been waiting for. Now, some have speculated before that McFarlane would put this in the collector's edition just to, leech a little bit more money off the top from collectors. But no, it is going to be in the, I think, $25 digital wave from DC Multiverse. So that's pretty cool. Rogue's character that a lot of people have really been waiting for. And finally, another Superman to add to your collection. This one will be a Silver Age Superman. So, not sure. Once again, we have so many variations and body styles. We'll just have to wait and see what this Superman will look like in the end. But for me, this is definitely a must cop. Now, leapfrogging off of this digital wave, we'll go into the next page puncher styled releases from McFarland. Now, not necessarily sure if it is under page punchers or if it's just released with a comic, but it is a comic style version of these characters. And first, one that I really want to get, and this is going to be the Kingdom Come version of Superman. Pretty iconic, pretty sought after release that a lot of people have been waiting for, especially to match up with our earlier released Kingdom Come Batman. So it's going to be really exciting to check this one out. And the only other figure showing on this wave is going to be Supergirl, based on the Woman of Tomorrow comic book. Now, all I could see a difference is this one is a little bit more based on that thigh high boots, classic version of Kara. So we will get a different looking Supergirl than from the original release. I mean, fingers crossed. And maybe even with a wired cloth cape. So that's another one that will be interesting to see the final product. Now, finally, I kept this release separate because this is one of my most requested, most anticipated releases from McFarlane. Now, if you go back into some older videos, you will find where I talked about this. What I really wanted McFarlane to do was to bust out that old Milestone gallery of characters, so versatile and so open to interpretation of how you are to execute these figures. Really love that classic artwork and the ideas of that whole Milestone run. I just don't think it really got its chance to flourish. I didn't like some of the ideas that they had for the figure that we will receive, and that will be Icon. I really think they should have just kept him as a more grounded, superhero. Although having superpowers and being very powerful, at his core still having a human soul and human values, but they went in a different direction in the comics, and that's kind of where I lost a little bit of interest. But no denying it is a very iconic part of DC Comics. That whole Milestone run was very interesting. I think it was ran by what's his name, Wayne McDuffie, who R.I.P. Rest in peace. But very structurally sound storylines and characters. I would like to see, of course, his sidekick Rocket be produced, as well as Hardware, which is one of my favorites. And another character in there is Static, which was the original rendition of Static Shock. I would definitely like to see at least all of those characters from the Milestone comic book line. Now we're going to go ahead and finish off with the live action movie figures. First up, we have something interesting. It's called the Theatrical Deluxe set. So we're not sure what it is completely, but it just says Superman the movie. So maybe Christopher Reeve, more than likely, but we can't say until we actually see it. The whole deluxe version thing, you never know. It might come with a diorama or something like that. So very interesting. We'll keep an eye out for this new subline from the live action part of the DC multiverse. Now, first up, I can finally leave Catwoman with her Batpod. I originally had a plan to just pose her on her own, display her on her own, and add a Bale Batman to that Batpod. Well, do not fret. McFarlane is here and he will be releasing a Dark Knight version of Batman on the Batpod. Now, what I'm thinking is we might get a little bit more wash on the Batpod, a little bit of battle damage or wear on it. Of course, you're going to get the Bale Batman with a cloth cape to match up with him riding the Batpod. But that's pretty cool. I will be picking this one up to add to my vehicle collection. Now, another thing on the list is a singular release, but it is very peculiar, and that is going to be 89 Batman. Now, right away, what I think is that McFarland is finally going to give us an 89 Batman, but with the cowl as a one piece connected to the lower neck. That way it'll be more of the way it looks in the film, where Batman has limited range on his head turns and neck movements. So it'll be pretty interesting to see the final release. This one does have a variant, which I'm not sure what it is. It says something about bronze. So we'll have to wait and see when it is finally released and we get some verified images. Up next, one more release for the Batman Forever movie, and this is going to be the final suit of the Riddler. Now, of course, we do think this is going to be Jim Carrey in that kind of white, glittery suit at the end of the film. This does make sense as it is more based on the original green release that we just received, just painted a different color and with a different head sculpt. So that's pretty cool. We'll add it to the collection. Not the biggest Batman Forever fan, but I do have all of the previous releases as well as the Batmobile. So I will definitely add this Riddler to my collection. Now, one I definitely am a big fan of, and this is going to be Batman Begins, the Panther suit. So this is going to be awesome. This is another one that I have been waiting for since McFarland took over DC. And this is the original Batman Begins costume. Very stealth, very almost ninja like, more streamlined, and a very compact design. Once again, you have a suit where the neck movement is minimal, but it gave something to this version of Batman that I really have always been a big fan of. So that is going to be awesome to finally get the Batman Begins version of Christian Bale's Panther suit. Pretty sweet. And finally, the last thing we'll be taking a look at, and that'll be Alfred from Batman v Superman. Of course, this means that we will be getting a Jeremy Irons version of Alfred Pennyworth from Batman versus Superman. Pretty cool. I mean, added to the collection. The only little thing I have in my brain, the little thought is this kind of sets it up to release that Batwing from Batman v Superman. Now, that is something I definitely look forward to. Cool design, very unique design for the Batwing. And I don't think that there's ever been a retail release of that specific vehicle and Batwing. So, be cool if they were to release that with an alternate version of this Alfred from Batman v Superman. But we never know with McFarlane. Always be ready for the unexpected. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's all I got to say about these upcoming releases for the next year, next couple months from McFarlane. Now, of course, these are not all set in stone. They could change or could not eventually get released until later, who knows? But pretty much these lists have always been about 98% accurate. Now, for those out there that are praying and hoping for the downfall of McFarlane with the DC license, it just looks like it's not going to happen, at least in the foreseeable future. McFarlane definitely firing on all cylinders, really putting out such a large array of IPs aside from DC. You have all of the movie stuff, the music stuff, Marvel stuff. I mean, McFarlane is really burning the candle at both ends, which you love to see. You know, he is the hardest working man in the toy biz, going stronger than ever. And I, for one, will be here until the ride ends. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.